Sif's blood. Barely survived that encounter. I'll bring you a new transmission. Vode An.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vode An. Finally, we're on really the first proper Clone Wars novel of the series, which is Karen Travis's Public Commando Hard Contact, the first in her Clone Wars books. Was it her first Star Wars book that she wrote?
Yep, first one.
First one and first prose fiction in general, yeah.
Yep. So this is not only her first Clone Wars book, it's her first Star Wars book in general. So of course this is a tie-in to the video game, which we won't review until way later. Just because of the nature of the video game, since it goes over the whole war, or across the war's timeline, we're gonna review it at the end. But this is, of course, not following Delta Squad, which is in that game. This is following Omega Squad, which, of course, they know Delta Squad, but, it's not about them. It's about Omega Squad, which consists, at least of this book. I don't know if one gets added later. I think one does. I don't know. But it's Darman, Niner, Phi, and At.
Yep.
Yeah. So Darman is like he's your demolitions expert. Phi is your medic, and I don't remember what were the other two. Niner, what were the other two? What were their
Niner's like a sniper for recall correctly.
Yeah, and then Atten, I think Atten's like comms. I think.
Yeah, I think Atten is like recon.
Yeah. Recon or tech specialist.
Atten just gets shot at one point in the book, and I think he gets shot in a later book. He's just like
he tanks it, dude. He fucking tanks it.
The whole gag is he's getting fucking shot constantly.
Also, I forgot to mention this, but Scott is joining us for this episode. We haven't seen him in a while, so welcome back, Scott. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hopefully he'll be coming on for more episodes, which I'm sure he will. But
here and there, whenever I can,
we'll be doing some comics and then the micro series in the next few episodes. So if you want to join us, then you can.
Sure.
But anyway, so let's go ahead and give a brief summary. Tidus, would you mind doing that?
You want me to give a brief summary of what the first 10 chapters or the whole?
Yeah,
book?
just first 10 chapters. That's right. I do need to mention that. This is only part one. We're only there's like 20 chapters in the book. We're just reviewing the first 10. Of course, we did that so we could be just so we could absorb the book better and comprehend it better and be able to give a better review of it. So just the first 10 chapters. I mean, would you mind doing that, Tidus?
So I hope my memory serves me well. You guys correct if I missed a detail. But
all right.
Basically hard contact, like Lance is saying, it follows a different squad of commandos called Omega Squad. And Omega Squad is basically a team put together of like sole survivor clone commandos who had their squads wiped out on Geonosis. So they got relocated together into a new squad, and they're sent to a mission on Quilor, I believe it is. Or is it Quilor?
It's something.
Killar with two eyes, yeah.
Yeah, because they're trying to stop a nanovirus, which is going to, I think, like just kill the clones, or is it going to stir? It's going to do something to them, something along those lines.
Biolab,
Yeah. Not related to the summary at all, but I do want to point out that this is the second time, chronologically speaking, that a nanovirus targeting clones would be taking place. The first time was that Star Wars Tales comic we had read. I just thought it was a little fun, kind of connection.
That's true. It's super early on in the war because, this book picks up right after Geonosis, and it mentions a couple of the clones and how they're like the sole survivor. Their unit, they're eventually put together, but they're evac'd from whatever happened on Geonosis. I don't know if they actually went into the catacombs after Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It's sort of like off screen, but they're evac'd. That they go to like Ord Mantell, right, for their fleet headquarters, and they're sort of reassigned a squad.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'll let you continue, Tidus.
So it does jump around in time a bit. The New Central Chronology does date this at 6 months into the war. But yeah, they go to Quillar to take down this nanovirus, and the dude that's like running the station is this Mandalorian ex-Death Watch guy named what the hell's his name? We were just talking about him last night.
It's
Gen Hoken.
Gez.
Gez or Gen Hoken.
Yeah. And then
so wait, he's ex Death Watch? Did it
yeah,
mention that in the book?
he's ex Death Watch, yeah.
It mentioned it in the book?
Yeah, they mentioned it early in the book.
He's ex Death Watch.
I don't remember that, but that's cool. That's cool.
Dude's a mean motherfucker.
You pretty much had to be Death Watch at this point because you couldn't be a Mandalorian Super Commando, and it was one or the other. Because Death Watch got kind of revamped from Jango Fett Open Seasons and the Bounty Hunter PS2 GameCube game. That was picked up right after Episode 2. So that was, if you wanted to be a Mandalorian, that was really your only choice at this point in the continuity.
Because all the true Mandalorians had basically either been like killed off or moved over to the Kuval Dark, like Cal Skirata or Waylon Val. I don't want to get into that.
I was gonna ask, like, are the Koi, was it Koi Del Var?
Koi Valdar.
Koi Valdar. I was gonna ask. I mean, you kind of answered the question, but so they're not Death Watch.
No, the Koi Valdar. Well, I explained this to you like in a call like a few weeks ago back. I don't know if you remember. But the Kuval Dar is a coalition of both Mandalorians and mercenaries. But all the Mandalorians were ex-true Mandalorians that worked with Jas Mareel and Jango in Open Seasons, like Waylon Val or Cal Skirata. But technically the Master Chief guy from TCW, the guy with that's like the prune face species. What's it called?
That brain head.
Yeah, the brain head guys. Like he's part of Kuval Dar, but he's just like a mercenary that the Republic hired. Well, technically Jango hired him to train the clones. But anyway, we get off topic. So Etang is a Jedi that's also dispatched to Kulora. I forget like the exact reason why.
So they're to scout out the biolabs. They're like just on a fact finding mission just to see what's going on.
Okay. So there's that, and they make it that touchdown to the planet. They encountered her. And that's where I kind of blank because I didn't know like they encountered a bunch of Weequay. The infiltrating the little fucking fortress, the compound. That's I think that's as far as it gets.
It was a bunch of
so Etang, who's the Jedi Padawan there, she has a master, Cast Folar, who gets captured by the separatist mercenaries there and eventually gets killed. I guess he gets executed by Gez Hokan there.
I think Gez kills him with his lightsaber.
There's also a Mandalorian who's hilariously named. He's named Lick, like Lick Atkin, whatever. And he's basically taken all the money, everything the villagers sort of produced. It's sort of like farmland on Kalara. And he's just making money, making bank over whatever they produce. And there's also the biolab, also the separatist biolab. And since the Trade Federation is affiliated with the separatists, it kind of makes sense that they put a biolab there. It's very surprising they have, this is the second nanovirus, but it's so early in the war, it's almost unbelievable. Like the separatist really has a leg up against the Republic in trying to counter the clone army. So I found
they've attacked Commando. The
separatists are being like
they're going
super productive,
dude.
Yep. They're going full scorched earth. No, nothing.
Yeah.
They ain't fucking around.
Yep. So
I kind of want to wait. Go ahead, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah. So Atkin, she's just kind of stranded on the planet. She's waiting for the Republic to rescue her, and eventually the Super Commandos, I don't know what are they, Republic Commandos, I guess it's the Omega Squad. They come in on a ship. It gets shot down, and Darman gets separated from the other three, and they go through the jungle.
He just threw the other clones off. I mean,
yeah. Darman. So Niner, he's like the squad leader, and he tells Darman to jump, and he was trying to rescue his gear because he's like Darman's the demolitions expert, and he wanted to keep all the weapons, all the explosives, anything that would be beneficial on the mission. He wanted to keep that. So he was kind of late in evacuating the ship, and that's why he got separated. So they have to hoof it through the jungle. They're kind of separated. They're going through all this wildlife, and there's also a shapeshifter that's sort of part of the squad. It's kind of weird because when they're at Ord Mantell and they're kind of regrouping after Geonosis, there's another Jedi called there's Padawan Jusik.
Yes.
And Argon Zay, a Jedi Master.
Yeah,
so they're
something like that.
sort of reassigned.
What's
Go
up?
ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna interject and say Jusik does become important in the later books.
Yeah, I think he's in one of the later books along with Zay. But that's
like so random, like because they don't really explain like where the hell it just came from.
Yeah, and they're assigned like a new master, but the Jedi don't accompany him on the mission. It's just the shapeshifter, and I guess he's also a special commando, Republic commando, but he's not a clone trooper. He's just
he's like bipedal, like a dog, like
it's described as
from what I got from it was when they were on Ord Mantell with Jusik and Zay, there was one of the shapeshifters was with them and like to brief the commandos,
right?
And so this other shapeshifter, it starts with a V, and the other one was Jarrett or something like that.
So the first one's like, Valaquil. Valaquil is
Valaquil. That's right. And then the other one
is Jin Art, and it's not revealed he's a shapeshifter initially. He's like one of the farmers on the planet, and then they find out later, oh, he's also a shapeshifter. He's also technically like a Republic operative, and he's also like the cohort of Valaquil. I don't know if it's like husband and wife, or I don't know what's going on there, but it was kind of weird.
Yeah, that's what I got. That was the interpretation.
Yeah, I thought they were like husband and wife type of thing.
But I mean, I thought it. I mean, she did kind of come out of nowhere, but at the same time, I was like, I guess it would make sense why. At least she would know that commandos are coming, or that the Republic is coming with troopers. So, but yeah, that's basically. And then the final chapter 10, ends with. I mean, by this point in the story, like, Hoken is onto them. He knows that there's troopers there. He doesn't know how many. But he knows that there's Republic soldiers there, so he actually has Dr. Uthin, who is the actual scientist. He has her basically evacuate into like a private villa, and he turned the rest of it into like a base. So it was already a base, but the clones don't know that. The clones thought that the lab is still there, but it's not. But the shapeshifter tells him that because she can shapeshift and go in there if she wants to, So they basically are like she's trying to rendezvous Darman and Etain with the rest of the squad at the villa. So like they're kind of like, from what I interpreted of, they're like going around the base, if that makes sense. At least that was my understanding of it. I could be wrong. But that's basically how the 10th chapter ends. And then Darman, Darman and Etain, they get found out and they have to fight their way out. And at the end of the book, it's Hoken looking over all the casualties. And then there was all those mysterious decapitations.
One family basically gets slaughtered. Yeah, and Hoken just finds this family slaughtered, and he says, "Oh well, I guess we're not going to get any more info from our informant." And I don't know if the informant was an informant for the Republic, like against them, like a mole within the Separatists. Yeah, but like, who killed the family, and why does he surmise that? That's like something that isn't resolved. I don't think it's resolved for the rest of the book. It was kind of a plot point that was just dropped.
My assumption is that the implication
was that it was the shapeshifter who did it, because he just, like, the way Hoken was, like, I mean, you're reading his thoughts. He's describing it like it's like an animalistic kill almost. And I mean, the shapeshifters are described in their normal form as being dog-like, like Tidus said. So the implication from what I read was it was the shapeshifter who did it. It wasn't. Yeah, obviously, it wasn't the commandos.
I didn't think that because
decapitate.
Yeah, but they are, the shapeshifters are technically Republic loyal, so I don't think they would commit an act of terrorism like that, but it's possible.
I mean, it's the Republic. I mean,
Then again, this planet isn't a republic world, so I mean, anything goes.
Yeah, their soldiers are slaves, so I mean, I don't know.
That's true. But when the Republic commandos kind of go through there, they're very careful to avoid any civilian casualties. They take out a bunch of separatist officers. There's like Trandoshans, there's Aqualish, there's
Umbarans,
Ubis,
Umbarans,
the Umbarans, yeah, and then
the obese.
Which is what Leia's bounty hunter disguise in Return of the Jedi. That species.
That's Ubis.
Yep.
So Hoken basically gets tired of all these people because they're drinking on the job and they're like lazy, and some of them are messing. There's allusions to like rape of the natives there.
Yeah, there's that.
Yep.
And Hoken says like I'm tired of these mercenaries. I need battle droids. So he talks to the separatist scientists Uthan, and apparently they get reinforcements of like super battle droids and stuff, destroyer droids from another garrison to help them out. It doesn't really help though, because they're dealing against special forces Republic Commando unit.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is like Hoken doesn't know this. He knows that there's Republic troops here, but he does not know that one, they're commandos, and two, he doesn't know how many there are.
One of the officers,
separatist officers. It's kind of interesting to read that.
Yeah. Although I think one of the officers kind of estimates, because I think I forget which, they maybe 9 or 5. They like cover their tracks, so they kind of like do some like shit where it makes it seem like there's more than 4 of them, and so I think the officer says like, oh, there's 10. There's probably 10.
The shapeshifter morphs into something with a lot of legs, so it leaves multiple tracks in multiple areas, and that's why they're kind of confused on where they are. They start burning the fields, trying to draw them out, but they're unsuccessful. And little does he know, it's interesting. They actually get into like the thought process of Hoken, which is something we don't normally get in a lot of like Star Wars books. He's very tactical, very kind of wondering what's going on. So you get to see inside of his head and his thought process, which I thought was really cool. True. And he's actually pretty smart. He is a Mandalorian. It's referenced that he knew Jango Fett, and when he finds out there's clone troopers and there's like the whole Grand Army of the Republic and they're all clones of Jango, he's like, well, I'm a Mandalorian, and he's not too happy about that. He's like, the Republic's just using the Mandalorian culture, and they're basically mindless soldiers, and he uses it as a point of vengeance because he is a mercenary for the separatists, but he's like, I'd actually do this work for free because I just want to get back at the Republic for using Jango Fett's genetic template to create this slave army.
Right.
And that's ironic because he's Death Watch. He's on the opposite side of war.
Yeah. That's the irony is like so.
I mean that means that his pride as a Mandalorian runs that deep, but like he'd even respect his enemy.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should get into our thoughts on the book. I mean, I think we kind of start doing that. But I guess I'll go ahead and just go first here. I mean, I think the book is really, really good so far. It's a lot of fun to read. It's just filled to the brim with just Star Wars lore. I mean, this is what I love about the expanded universe, this kind of stuff here. And it's just, I don't really know how detailed I could get here, but this is everything I like about the EU. I mean, the lore, the characters. I mean, I think all the characters are really good. What's interesting, Scott and I, we were he mentioned this before this video started, that he had to like kind of write like all the characters down. But for me, like, because there's a lot, like all the characters in here are like new. Like these are like, they're not like legacy characters or what we would consider legacy characters, like movie characters. But for me, when I was reading it, I kind of was like remembering the characters kind of quickly, I just really like the character. I like all of them. I think in terms of the commandos, I think Darman was probably my favorite. I mean, I mean, Darman is clearly like he's intended to be like the main character. He and Attain, of course. I mean, we know what's going to happen to them later, but I don't know. I thought he was really, really cool, and I just think all the scenes that we got of just the clones were just awesome. Etain, I mean, she's a cool character. You know what's interesting is when she first meets Darman, and he takes his helmet off. Well, not even takes his helmet off, but she finds out that he's actually a clone and that there's like millions of them, and she can't believe that. And it's actually interesting. She actually finds out about the clones that there is, a grand army, when she first meets Darman. So, spoiler alert, of course, I don't know if you don't notice by now, but it is what it is. But Darman and Etain eventually, they get together, and yeah, that kind of makes a little bit more sense now. Why Etain would, because she doesn't see him as a clone. She just sees him as him, as just, I don't know. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, I felt like when they first met, like even when Etain first met Darman, there was a little romantic friction, a little bit of spark
for sure.
And it's kind of weird, kind of unsettling, because she senses him through the Force, or she senses a 10-year-old child, and the reason is the clone is actually 10 years old. It has an accelerated growth rate, but she's kind of surprised when she sees this, grown adult Commando. It didn't match her like expectation in the Force and that, so it was kind of jarring.
I will say I thought that was a really, really weird detail, because physically the clones are not 10. They're not 10 in any way. They are physically like 20-something, late 20s.
Either 20 or in the 30s. It's just that their chronological age. Yeah, the chronological age of 10 years old, but they're not actually 10.
Yeah, I felt that was a really, really weird detail. I mean, I was like, first of all, how do you sense somebody's age through the Force?
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I think Karen just misunderstood. Like, they're physically a lot older. They're just chronologically 10 years old. So I thought that was kind of a lame detail. But to my original point, like, she does not see Darman as a clone. She just sees, when she thinks of Jango Fett's face, she doesn't think of Jango Fett. She thinks of Darman, right? Because before she, I don't know if this is making sense, but she does not find out Darman is a clone until after she has seen his face. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, she doesn't look at the clones the way everybody else does. She looks at him like, oh, this is Darman. But all the others just see Jango Fett clones. I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess it would make more sense for her to be interested in him, because she doesn't see a clone. She just sees a normal person. So I guess, because, when I first found out that those two that a Jedi marries a clone and has children, I'm like, oh gosh, that's so stupid. But I think with the way Karen set it up here, it's not too bad. It's still weird to me, but it's not that weird. I think there's been weirder things in Star Wars, but outside of that, I think Hokin is a really cool villain. He's Mandalorian, he's badass. And what I also want to add is, what I love about Karen Traviss is, I don't know if there's any stories before this in publication order. I'm sure there is, but the clones in Mandalorian's having a connection, and Mandalorian's training clones. I just think that's the coolest thing ever. Like, in the clones having and acknowledging and appreciating like their Mandalorian heritage, it's just awesome to me. And because throughout the story, I mean, the Commandos, they're singing like Mandalorian war chants and things like that, and using, speaking Mandoa. It's just cool to me, like that they are they're not Mandalorians, but they kind of are, if that makes sense. They're clones of Mandalorian. They're trained by Mandalorians. So I just think it's cool.
They're instilled from their trainers, because it's mentioned that the Kaminoans, they have all these military trainers. Like Jango didn't do all the training himself.
Right.
He had other people and other Mandalorians to kind of help him, and some of that culture kind of fused into at least some of the clone troopers, especially the highly trained Omega Squad.
Troopers, Commandos,
like independent clones. But like, you know, as with the nature of Kuval-Dar, and like I was saying about the Master Chief from TCW. And I use him as an example because I don't have like any mercenary named example that's part of Kuval-Dar. But it's like the human mercenaries that train clones or commandos or arcs, they would have the perspective of like normal people, because those mercenaries wouldn't be Mandalorian. It's just different in the case like Wayland Val or Scarada, because I mean, like Scott's saying, they instill their own culture into them as if they were their blood or as if they were their clan.
Yep. So, I mean, just in contrast with like TCW, like, because I mean, remember before TCW was my Clone Wars for like forever. So I'm always constantly thinking back to that show, and in that show you don't really have any of that. You don't have, clones trained by Mandalorians, clones that speak Mando. In fact, I don't think Mando is even in the show. So
Mando's not on screen at all, except from that bullshit in Mandalorian.
So I mean, it's just a cool contrast to me that there are at least squads, so ARC troopers and commandos that are, for all intents and purposes, Mandalorian. So I mean, they may not be true Mandalorians, but I mean, they're trained by Mandalorians. They speak Mando. Of course, all the clones are clones of Jango, so they're Mandalorian in that sense. But I don't know. I just thought it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed all the Mandalorian stuff that's in it. In addition, I really enjoy, because at the beginning of each chapter is like a quote from like Cal Scarada, or because he's not in the book, but he's mentioned all the time. At least he's not in the first 10 chapters. Of course, I don't know.
No, he's in the second book, and I think some books later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But he's alluded to all the time, so it's quotes from Cal, or interestingly enough, Vode An. A little excerpt of that was I think chapter 7 it was.
Yeah.
Little of the lyrics, so that was pretty cool. There was like a quote from Kiadi-Mundi. There was one quote of like Hoken, like him giving orders to the base. I mean, it was just cool. Like, it just adds. It's like it adds a little bit to the world building that I really enjoyed. It's just badass, is what it is. I mean, I don't know. It's just so cool.
It's true.
Now, I will say, some of the parts with the Etain at the beginning I felt were pretty slow. But I mean, other than that, I don't really have any issues. Everything, that's following the clones is great. I mean, one of the things I love about going through the Clone Wars right now is if it's a clone story of any kind, I'm probably gonna like it, because I love stories about clones. I don't know why, I just do, because I think they're awesome. Especially these kind of clones, because these are, of course, commandos. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool, but like I said, the only critique I would give is just some of those Etain scenes at the beginning, which I just felt were kind of slow. They weren't bad; they were just, I would have much rather just focused more on the clones, but you guys set up Etain because she's part of the story. And then the other, Etain sensing the age of Darman, was stupid. But other than that, I don't really got any other critiques. This book is pretty cool so far. So, Scott, you want to give your thoughts real quick, brother?
Well, there's something I was gonna say though, Lance.
Oh, go ahead, Titus. Go ahead.
When you say you're appreciating the clones, because you had mentioned that, like, for all intents and purposes, like, the Mandalorian, like, they look after each other. Like, that is something that will get expanded upon in, I think, the later books. I don't think they ever call it by the name, but the Rezel Nare is basically like, how in Disney canon they constantly say, "Oh, the Creed," this is the Mandalorian Creed.
Right.
The Rezel Nare is basically like the tenets of like Mandalorianhood, and looking after your own tenants, like, your brothers, sisters, That's essentially what the clone commandos do. So in a way, they do fall like, as you're saying it, they follow the tenets of the Mandalorians, but they don't wear the armor.
Right.
That's the only thing that sets them apart. They don't literally wear the armor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's a good point.
The first point I had when I made notes, what this book needs, and I think it's mandatory for any Star Wars book who has characters that aren't characters from the movies. This is a whole new cast of expanded universe characters. Nobody's ever heard of any of these people. All brand new. Karen Travis's first dip into Star Wars expanded universe. It needs a dramatis persona. I think I'm saying that right, but it's basically the roster that the Rogue Squadron, Ray Squadron books have, New Jedi Order books have it as well. Basically telling you who's who, and you especially need it in this book because the character names, especially when you factor in the last names, like Padawan's name, Etain Tur Macon. There's a lot of E's, there's a lot of I's and K's, a lot of weird letters. And when you're saying these names, like when you read it, I just skip over it. So I definitely need to write down the names of all the cast of characters. The clones, Fee, Niner, Aiton, Darman, like those are memorable, but those are the only ones. Especially when you get into like some of the separatists, like there's one Weequay named Gutanay, and he's like the second in command to Guess Hoken, and he actually just turns tail and runs and surrenders to the clone troopers there. I kept thinking of Goonie Tay from Star Wars CCG. It's like a very annoying card, but it's like it's something that I guess fits with what Karen Travis was trying to do. But I don't know where she came up with some of these names. That's like my first.
She pulled them out of her ass. That's how.
Like she just pulled letters out of a Scrabble game or something. But
dude, I don't know, man. Shoot.
Yeah, she I think was the first one to give clones names. We had Django Tat in, what was it, Deception, which came out around this time. I remember when I first read this, because I read it back in maybe 2005 or so. This actually came out before the Republic Commando video game, and I thought it was pretty forgettable. They had certain novels in this line that were specifically Clone Wars novel, and this Republic Commando series was not part of that for whatever reason, but I felt like it should.
It's because the multimedia project technically ended by the time that the second book's released. This came out at the very end of the project, and Republic Comics, even the Siege of Seleucami, did not conclude during the tenure of the 3 years they gave themselves. So that's why it's not listed as a Clone Wars story.
Okay, because I thought this came out like in 2004, 2005, but I might be wrong.
It came out at like the tail end of 2004. That's what I'm saying. Like, by the time you got to 000, the project was over. Now people forget that the project was a 3-year thing to coincide with the fact that the Clone Wars itself was 3 years. We just kind of all lump it together because it's like, this is still EU, and I think we form more of a timeline of like 2003 to 2007, like pre-TCW.
Yeah, it's weird because I kind of actually remember this coming out before Yoda Dark Rendezvous, which actually got me into reading the prequel era because I had written it off prior to that, like the whole Rogue Planet, and then what was the other one? The really bad one, Approaching Storm. Like I thought it was horrible, and I after that I
nap shit.
Yeah, like I couldn't get through it, and I eventually did read this, but I don't really remember anything from it. I thought it was kind of forgettable. But this reread, I thought it was much better. I agree with you, Lance, that the first couple chapters, it's kind of hard because it skips around and it's all new characters. Just trying to find your basis is a little awkward. I think I would have stuck with the same group of characters longer so that you get kind of familiar with them. But it was too jumpy in the first like 2-3 chapters. But once the squad kind of gets together and Etain meets Darman, I thought that's when it really starts to shine. When you there were a couple sections of the chapters that focus on the separatists, Guess Hoken. I thought getting into his head and his motivations and what he was trying to do, his previous acquaintance with Jango Fett, like he knew who Jango Fett was. I thought that was really interesting. The even the separatist scientist Uthan, like I thought she was really competent in what she does, and that was refreshing. The Nemoidian was a bumbling idiot, like you would expect, but I thought Uthan was pretty neat, and I think she actually shows up in later books as well. But when they're huffing it on foot through the planet, and they're encountering all the wildlife and the occasional like separatist troops like trying to find their position in that, I thought that was a little bit slow. I know they're trying to jam pack so many pages into a Star Wars book, but it's kind of hard when you have the entirety of like all the action basically consisting on one planet. It kind of gets tiring, and I wish they would have focused on the separatists a little bit more. The villagers, like the farmers, I think were a little bit interesting. I didn't quite get the what was going on with the shapeshifters. Like there's Jynart, the other shapeshifter, was on the planet with Etain the whole time, and I don't think that actually gets resolved. Like, did the Republic actually?
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry,
well,
no, you go ahead and finish your thought.
I know the shapeshifters are originally from the planet. I don't think it's mentioned in the book here, but it is on Wikipedia that the shapeshifters are native from this planet. So I guess it makes sense the other one's there, but since this is sort of separatist territory, the fact that you'd have a Republic operative already there, I didn't quite understand. But I thought the clone squad, like everybody was cool, especially Darman there. Etain, I felt she sort of took the reader's position. If you approach this book and you hadn't seen episode 2 at all, and you had like no idea where the clone army came from, the history, Karen Traviss spelled it out for you. But I felt like if you're an expanded universe reader and you're familiar with Star Wars, it was a little bit too she treated you like kindergartners. Like, I felt like you were already familiar with a lot of this stuff, and it wasn't necessary to retread a lot of that. But it was neat that we get the training details of the clones on Commando. There's all these outside Mandalorians that assist in the training and sort of fuse into the Mandalorian culture that Omega Squad has. But Karen Traviss, this is kind of a problem in a lot of her writing where she's like super violent, and she kind of she does action scenes really well, but she like everything has to be like super violent, and it's like that's how the clones think, and they don't have any motivations besides that. They just have to like complete the mission. And it's mentioned like, oh, I've never actually been on any planet besides Commando or Geonosis. And there's parts of the book where they see a stream for the first time. They see like all this native wildlife. And then Darman actually sees Etain, and I don't think he's ever seen a human woman before. And it's kind of weird. But so you have sort of those awkward moments. But I felt like the action's really good. It's just that's all Karen Traviss does well, and to maybe have an entire book just about that with nothing else leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. But if she's brought in maybe just to assist in the action scenes, I think she would do a lot better. But she sort of struggles to like put an entire plot together to like develop the characters. Once they're developed and they're in their mission, it's great. It's just, I don't know. I don't quite think she can write a book from start to finish really well. She just does certain parts well. But those are basically my thoughts.
I do want to add to some of the things that you said. I think like when you were saying like that the like all the Attack of the Clones, like the backstory that Etain is kind of being given regarding the clone army and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I do agree with you, but an additional point I want to add to that is her master. I mean, the whole reason why they were there to stop the scientists as well, as far as I remember, and her master.
Mhm.
But if the story, like, if she doesn't know about Geonosis, then that must mean she was at least there on the planet during the film. But her master knew about the clones, but it's like, well, how did her master know about the clones if the other Jedi didn't know about the clones until Obi-Wan told them? Does my logic make sense there?
I don't remember her master knowing about the clones, unless he heard about, you know, the Battle of Geonosis and like some sort of update, because this is right after the Battle of Geonosis, and Yoda kind of comes in and, you know, saves the day with the clone army there, but then they're evac, they're sent to Ord Mantell, and then they're sent on this mission. So yeah, it is kind of weird. But Etan, like, she's not quite like Ahsoka, but she has the same sort of naivete as Ahsoka does, where she doesn't understand that she has to be in combat situations. Like she's going there with her master to kind of uncovering what's going on as far as the biolab. But then when she kills the first separatist, she like strikes him through with her lightsaber. She's shocked, and the clone has to like get her bearings and, you know, get her going again. She's very hesitant to make any decisions or in terms of planning, because the clones actually ask her for orders, like how they should proceed against the separatist base, and she's very reluctant to do that.
Yeah, I just think it's weird that she doesn't know about the clones. I just it's almost like, I don't know. I just think it's weird that she doesn't know about them. I don't think it makes sense, but oh well. And like I said, I mean, if because they were to stop that virus, but she didn't know what the virus was for. I don't think she knew that there was a virus that they were stopping.
Well, it was a biolab, yeah. Maybe not
right.
what they were developing and why, but I kind of there's also mentions of her master Foliar, and how he's sort of like a Qui-Gon Jinn type of character, where he doesn't follow orders, and that's the reason he got captured, is like he didn't follow the plan. You know, I guess he got betrayed by one of the natives, or run into the separatists or what, but like it's mentioned that, oh, he doesn't follow orders by the book. And then when she encounters Darman, it's sort of refreshing to find somebody who doesn't go rogue on the mission. Like Darman's very, you know, military tactical. He's like, you know, I'm going to follow my mission no matter what.
Yeah, I wonder if her master knew about the clones. I don't know, but is there anything else you'd like to add, Scott?
No, I think that's about it. If there anything else comes up, I'll let you know. But
all right, well, Ken, Darman.
All right,
it's up to you now, dude.
Where do I begin with this book? Oh boy, I think I'm gonna start with the whole point you made, Lance, about the clones being not like they're being like kind of, or at least the ones that were trained by the Mando specialists. Like they have that culture imprint on it. I think that's fucking cool. Like Mandalorians in the EU are just really fucking cool, and just a badass race of fucking warriors, and have like most of this army. Because I feel like some clone is like all the mercenaries that Jango hired, not all of them are Mandalorians. Some are humans, some are aliens, so they're not all going to be imprinted with that culture. But I still think it's cool that we're following like a squad of commandos, that they all got that training from like Cal and Waylon, and it's fucking cool. Like these badass fucking commandos, they have this like, it may not be theirs, but they have this culture that's been imprinted. They have it. They're not. I mean, they're technically Mandalorians, like biologically Jango's a Mando. Technically, I want to say, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I like to think technically they are, Even though,
I
like,
would say.
Well, what do you
I would
mean?
say,
What do you mean
if
biologically?
we're talking about regs, then no. But if we're talking about like these commandos and the ARC troopers that were trained by Mandos, I'd say yes.
Well, I was trying to ask a question. I was asking like the nuance of what does he mean by what he's asking? You're saying
Mandos is like a race.
Are they biologically cloned or Mandalorians?
No, I mean, I kind of like didn't phrase that like I don't think the Tau are like. I mean, Mandalorians aren't a race. They're like it's more of a culture.
It's an ideology.
Yeah, it's an ideology. I misphrased that.
I mean, that's why I was like, did you hear I was explaining about the Resonari earlier?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was saying that the Resonari, their belief system, that's something that inherently extends beyond blood, race, or species, gender, anything. It's like, you know, if you defend your family, defend your clan, you believe in the tenets, so you're Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just misphrased it. That's something.
Now you don't necessarily have to wear the armor.
Yeah.
So in the case of the clone commandos, I mean, they are Mandalorians for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, they basically are. But yeah, all these like commandos, they're Mandalorians for all intents and purposes. And I don't know. When I was reading the book, I drew this parallel because like this is the first time I've seen like clones jump out of like they fucking do like a Halo drop type shit, and I was like thinking like these guys are like paratroopers. I mean, it checks all the boxes. These guys have like special training, they got special equipment, special armor. They have a unique sense of pride as commandos. Like Darman calls the fucking like normal like Chinese prima donnas in the beginning of the book. So I thought that was like, like inter-service rivalry. Are we gonna get that? Maybe. That's interesting to explore.
I mean, they already touched on it in the book. Like they bring up the ARC trooper rivalry a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's mentioned. Yeah, them and the ARCs are at odds. But I think it's fucking cool because like no military is complete without that classic inter-service rivalry. It wouldn't feel like a like. They always have that. Like in the U.S., you got the Marines, fucking Army. They just like hate each other, and then the Navy. Navy and the ground forces, just like, and the Air Force, just like they don't belong. It's like it's the whole like joke, but it's like to see that's in this book. It makes it like I'm a military like guy. I like military shit, so seeing that just adds a layer of realism for me. And the violence, actually, like I know it may seem like to like touch on it in depth, but like I don't know, it's just the way she writes it, the way Karen writes like the violence. It's so fucking visceral. And like it's not that it's weird seeing it in a Star Wars book, I just don't expect it. It's the tone she sets and like the way the clones take out like Darman's first kill is a fucking alien, he's a separatist like commando or separatist like security guard. I don't think they're the guys in the first part of the book, they aren't like separatists. That comes later.
He takes out like three Weequay at once, and then he says, "Oh, I don't." Well, he doesn't say it to himself, but it's said in the narration. He doesn't have anything against Weequays. I was like, why is that necessary to say that?
I think it's an imprint from like his training and just like the Mandalorian stuff that he was taught. That's what I think.
That was like probably an attempt to like dark wit. Like she thought she was being like kind of a dark way.
So it's probably her humor too. But yeah, he slices this fucking dude's throat open, and then he doesn't finish the guy's still on the ground like in a pool of blood, just like gagging. And he just finishes him off. And like Darman does that like three or two times in like the book. Like the most recent chapter, he like pops in. Like they breach the building. They're discovered. They breach a building. A bunch of like separatist like security forces, and Darman like goes back out. They hear screaming and they go back outside, and some dude has like his fucking like guts ripped out, and they just like Darman just pops one on his fucking head. So yeah, I mean that's just for me it works because I've read like books like that where it's just like the violence is visceral, but like compared to other novels, it's just I don't know, it feels more grounded. Like I could watch Anakin cutting down like or like not Anakin, like I could watch like Luke cutting down Vong all day. But the way the authors write it, it's just like, okay, this is like some fantasy, like fucking space fantasy shit. But then like I'll read this and it's like, oh, this feels like this feels like fucking space Vietnam. And so I think that's the distinction. I like that. Basically,
it makes sense because Karen Travis was she wasn't like a war correspondent journalist, but she was like a freelance journalist that covered military aspects and like military training.
I think that's where she gets her writing from. It's really good. I to touch on Karen herself. Like I thought I was gonna hate like her, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Like I mean, I agree with Lance. The whole sensing the age shit's kind of weird, and I'm like iffy on the romance. I'm like, okay, this like doesn't need to be here. But I guess I'm just gonna roll with it. Like, I mean, it's fine. These two have some sort of chemistry, but I see them more as colleagues. I mean, I can see why it works. I just don't see them as like end up being a couple. It's like okay, I just kind of see their relationship as like close colleagues. But if she wants to do a romance, like okay, I'll see where this goes. I'll see how it unfolds. The one thing, though, that I think stands out in this book is it's one of the conversations that, like, Darman and Etain have. And it's like Etain's, like, this indecisive. She's unsure of herself. And I don't know if any of their books touch this. I'm sure the other, like, Clone Commando books talk about this. But Darman, and I'm assuming the other clones in the squad, because they haven't met Etain yet. But Darman treats her word as basically gospel. Like the clones are basically bred to be obedient to the Jedi and treat every like word they say as like this divine providence or something like that. That's kind of like Darman's mindset. It's like, okay, like what do you want me to do, Commander? Come on, like give me orders, like do something. It's like Etain doesn't know what the fuck to do. She's like, these clones are bred to do all this shit and like follow my orders to the letter, and if like I can't do it, like I don't know what the fuck I want to do. And I think this was really, really interesting. Like the clones just see the Jedi as like, give me orders, I follow you, I obey you without question, not without question. I mean, there's a difference between like the clones and the EU and then clones and canon, but I guess we'll get there when we get there. But it's just interesting to see the mindset of the clones just being trained to be like, okay, you're gonna obey the Jedi, and they just see it as like this. Like I said, like divine providence. Like it's basically gospel to them. I think that's really interesting. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that was one thing I forgot to mention was because all the clones in the unit are sole survivors of their squad, and they've seen their clone brothers die on Geonosis, and they think for the first time, well, you know, they're trained to complete the mission at all costs and put their lives on the line, and they're happy to do it. But then when they first get a taste of like what actually happens and the fact that their clones die, and they could die as a result of a mistake that they make on a battlefield or something that they do, they have a sense for the first time, you know, self-preservation, because before it's all about completing the mission. And also when they're on this planet, you know, he's like, well, maybe I should lay low and not put myself out there to be captured or to die, and then have my the rest of my squad trying to find out what happened to me, you know. So that was kind of neat to see. There's like a recognition of their reality beyond their training, beyond what they were used to.
I also think it's kind of disturbing in a way, because like a normal military doesn't have that, like you treat your commanders thing as like divine gospel. You think, I mean, the clone commandos are independent. We've like mentioned, like they are trained to be more like, smarter, more independent than like your average reg, but it just kind of feels very like fascistic to me. Like this is like like Soviet troops, German troops, like Italian, like these are like soldiers that have been programmed with the one specific thing. They have this thing. They're okay. You do your job any way you can. You're programmed with a little bit of free will, but you have this one thing you got to follow. and that's just it feels very like martial and fascistic because like the German soldiers, like the elite, like the paratroopers, the SS, they're essentially ideologically like brainwashed to believe like, okay, you follow the party, you follow like the fatherland, and it's like that one part of the clone, like it's ingrained into the clones. It's just kind of disturbing.
There's a nuance to that though, Ken.
Yeah,
because it's not really their fault, and it's not really the Jedi's fault either. Because the casualties of Geonosis, I mean, it's born from like it's in their biology to follow the mission. They're inclined to do that. But at the same time, Jedi have been out of loop for commanding serious warfare for 1,000 years. So them getting clones killed from poor directions, it's like it's more a byproduct of like the times, but it's not really like their fault entirely.
Yeah, and we've seen that in other aspects of Star Wars. I'm thinking of the Imperial Royal Guard, like they're totally loyal to the Emperor and they're willing to do anything, right? They devote their whole life to the training and service to the Empire. They kind of do that by choice. It's a little bit different in the sense with the clones. They're just bred for that. They don't have any choice. But that's another sort of recognition is when Darman meets Etain, like she asks him, well, you have no family? No. He's like, no, I grew up on Geonosis, or not Geonosis, Commando. He doesn't have any money. He never had a thought of doing anything else besides military service. So,
well, I mean, there's no narrative contrast to the Royal Guard thing. I mean, I can see the similarity of like, they're both kind of inclined to follow orders, but I'm just saying that like what Ken's talking about is that it's kind of like a subtle tragedy that they all die.
He said like, it was kind of disturbing, kind of like.
Well, I mean, it is disturbing, like how they follow orders.
So the comparison was just in like the brainwashing aspect.
Yeah,
I get that. I get what you mean, but I'm just saying I was articulating the Geonosis aspect of it because I think that's kind of like something they don't really touch on too much beyond just the opening, where it's like that was really in no one's control. And I mean, had the Jedi been competent, I mean, hell, Omega Squad, for better or for worse, wouldn't even have formed if they weren't incompetent.
That's true. That's true. And some of the blame gets placed on the Jedi too, I think.
Yeah, Karen does do that. Like she hoists a lot of blame. Yeah, realistically, it's not the Jedi's fault.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, the Karen Travis. I mean, it's kind of subtle here. She's gonna like suck you in, like her book. But I mean, I'll get to that. I'm sure I'm not gonna be happy with that shit in the next few books. But I mean, the tragedy of it is the whole reason the Omega Squad exists is because they're formed from survivors of the units that were fucking destroyed in combat, and that's just the reality of warfare. Like for better or for worse.
Yep.
I think that's just interesting. Like, I thought Omega Squad, they were just fucking newbies roll up the assembly line, but no, these are all combat veterans, like in a fucking new unit. I'm like, okay, this is cool.
Yep. The badasses.
How about the fact that they fought against live targets on Commando? I had no idea.
I was like, okay.
Yeah,
he just randomly mentions that to Etain like half the way through it.
Oh, and then I don't know if it was Atin or Niner that mentions this, but they like the Commandoans had like fucking like gunships or like reconnaissance craft that would like kill or like take away clones that.
So if you scored 95% or lower on your sniper score, like you just got disappeared and nobody ever heard from the squad. Yeah,
that's fucking like terrifying. Like, I mean, like the clones, they're just like everything is weeded out of these poor clones. I mean, yeah, and like in a way, like Tidus, I do like it's very fucking tragic. Like these, even from like their training, like these clones are just they're all their weakness. Any sort of defective bullshit is just like sucked out of them. These soldiers are meant to be perfect in every way, and they're human. Like, sure, they're clones. They're living, breathing fucking flesh and blood. They're not droids. I think that's sad. Like these soldiers are like they may not realize it, like, but this is a war. Like they're pawns.
Yeah, and then you get 99 later on in Dave Filoni's thing. He's like a defective clone, but he's still like alive. Right.
Even the Bad Batch, but that's a whole different topic. But it's one more. We can talk about Geshoken. Like he is interesting because like he's just a real piece of shit. And I like piece of shit villains. Like he's just a fucking. It's not that also he's a piece of shit. He's smart. He's a smart, intelligent villain. And he's just like. I like the situation he's put in. He's just surrounded by incompetent assholes like the whole time. You have one or two people that like he seek like the praise of, but for the most part, like he's surrounded by drunken mercenaries who don't know what the fuck they're doing, and he's just like a fucking intelligent guy put in a shitty situation, and he's just he's doing what he can, and all the odds are stacked against him. And I think like his story is pretty compelling. Like this dude is managing to fucking get onto the commandos when like all this shit is stacked against him. Like he doesn't have enough money for like actual like good mercenaries. He has to rely on separatist droids and their officers, which I mean they're better than the shitty mercenaries, but still droids are droids. But I just think he's a fucking cool villain. This dude just oozes with like aura and charisma. Even though he's a Death Watch like piece of shit, like he still has that fucking like just like I would follow this guy even if like my life was like okay. Your life may be forfeit, but I'd still follow you. So yeah, Geshoken, good villain. I hope you see more of that in these books. Like, he really grabbed me. This dude just grabbed me. Fucking great villain. Oh, I love him. Every fucking time he's on screen, I'm just fucking okay. I'm gonna slow down. I'm just gonna like, I'll read this like twice. I'll read it twice. Like the way she writes him. Oh my god, so good. I'm just gonna start like nerding out if I keep going, but. Those are my thoughts.
Awesome. Tidus, what are your thoughts, brother?
I mean, I don't really have too many thoughts on this. I will admit those last few chapters and why I couldn't really recount in summary is because I was kind of like trying to quickly read through them. So we could, meet in time. So there's some stuff I blanked out on, but I do remember a good chunk of it, I'd say. And rereading this, it's still pretty good. I like the action. I like the world of Kular. I like how they kind of describe it as like a kind of like a dark junglish world. It's kind of like how not like Haroon Call. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like something like that. Where like I want to say like a Vietnam-esque world. But it's like the way they describe the foliage and the trees and the atmosphere of it. It kind of fits a similar bill, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I pictured Afghanistan. Like obviously it's not a desert, but this was written kind of with that mindset. Karen Travis, I guess, had some experience with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the thing she's trying to do.
Well, I mean, with the weak way and all, you might be onto something. Yeah.
Meh.
Taliban, yeah.
The Taliban.
Looks left to right. Sure hope there's not a towel on those weak ways. All right, I'm getting off track.
Karen's the real Taliban here. Let's be honest.
Might just be.
Maybe.
Dude, she might be watching, dude. She might be YouTubing. Oh, I wonder what folks are talking about my books in 2026 about, huh? Oh, I don't remember my words. I don't care about my words. I don't remember them.
I just love killing you.
I was about to say that, like, she'll watch the video and I have no idea who the fuck we're talking about. What we're talking about.
Daman
who's that? He died in childbirth or something?
Who's Attain? Like, who's that dickhead?
Mandalorians? A race? Biological?
So, fun fact.
I barely even know her. Huh.
She didn't actually come up with Taliban, but she used it in the message boards. There was sort of like Ask Me Anything before there was an Ask Me Anything. It was Ask Karen on the message boards. And she had kind of the same personality, maybe not the same politics as Chuck Wendig, where she'd go off on fans if she wasn't feeling that great. And a fan, said something the wrong way to her, she'd let them know.
That's rough.
Yep, she did it. She did it before Disney made it cool. So
yeah, Disney made it mainstream. All the authors shitting on their fans. You don't like my book? Oh, fuck you.
Pablo Hidalgo,
Leland Chi in the basement somewhere, trapped. Yeah.
But I think Leland Chi is like utterly depressed right now. That's what I think about that dude.
Poor guy.
But very controversial, very polarizing author. She definitely wore her passions on her sleeve, I guess.
I was trying to say though about my thoughts, and I mean that we quit connection, it might just be onto something, but I like the world of it. Like, I mean, she doesn't really go too heavy into it, like not like Tolkien or something, but I think her description of Qular, it is pretty interesting. I don't really have too much to say else. I mean, I like the characters again, like Niner. I really like Niner. But honestly, I don't like Etane. Like I even in my first read this book years ago, I never liked Etane. And I guess it's just like she kind of feels whiny, and I never I could care for her initially because she's literally introduced you by falling in a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Or like
it's not a good look.
Right to like being like liquid dung, and it's like, dude, it's like, how do you want to take her seriously if that's how you introduce her?
And that's like Travis just making Jedi like fucking stupid. I mean,
literally, like I forgot about that.
And then the whole shit with like, oh, the weak way dude might rape her if he catches up to her. I'm like, okay, this is just like a humiliation ritual. But like, I mean, I get that. Like, fucking, it's Jedi should not act that way, and it's just Karen Travis inserting her bias into the book for better or worse.
I mean, I really don't think it's so much of like her being Jedi. I just don't think that's how you introduce a character, because like it's kind of unfair, because she gives like the clone OCs like a leg to stand on, but it's like when it comes to her Jedi OC, it's like she knocks her down a peg, but like she uplifts her once she gets connected to the clone.
Yeah,
and that's a whole different tangent I want to get into, like saying like, you know, her worth is like only determined by her proximity to like her fucking like male OC. I don't want to get into that, but I think that's kind of like a problem with Etane's writing. But I don't know, I just don't care for all the characters. Gez Token, he is more badass than I remember the first time. I ain't gonna lie, because the first time I didn't really give a shit about him, but his introspection is, I guess I appreciate it a lot more. He's got like a whole cadre of fiends around him, you know, like devious to like rape and pillage, and you know, like do like, you know, glitter stem and all types of devious things. There's also something that stuck out of me, and it's constantly it's weird reading it on the page, because in my mind TCW comes in mind. I mean, that's all because it's so popular now, but the DC-17 is in the Clone Commando or Republic Commando game. That's the rifle extension thing they use. It's called the DC-17M. When that game came out, though, to my knowledge, it was just called a DC-17. There was no M. It became a DC-17M because in TCW, you know, Rex's pistols, those DC-17s in the show. So then I had to change the name. So when I was reading that shit, it took me out of it. And I was just imagining like Darman like shooting like a weak way with a little Captain Rex pistol. I'm just like, that shit don't make sense to me. And then I remember, because for a minute I had to Google like what the gun was called again, because I know DC-15, there's two of them. 15 is one of the long stock in the scope. That's like the ones they use on Geonosis. And then the carbine is like the little handheld one they use in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's one of the folded back stock.
Yeah.
So, what is their repeating blaster called? The actual Clone Commander blaster.
I just told you it's called DC-17. They changed the DC-17M because TCW came out.
Oh, so I see.
Oh, just the point I was making is that they shared the exact same name, and that's what was taking me out of reading the book. It's because in the book it's literally called DC-17. So I was thinking like he put out a fucking like Captain Rex pistol, but I'm just like, that don't make fucking sense. Like how's he doing rapid fire, like holding it like a damn rifle, like a little ass pistol?
It's like, show me the real DC-17.
Yeah, somebody, I want to see the real DC-17.
That's not a D-17. This is a D-17. Pulls out a giant gun. Yeah, I do agree. That kind of threw me off. I'm like, wait a minute, he's just pulling out a pistol. Like, what the fuck? Does he have like a Glock, an auto Glock?
I mean, I think it only really sticks out if you remember all those different blaster type names. Like those clone names, I've seen those like a bunch, so that's why it just kind of stuck out to me like a sore thumb. But I don't really have too many I really like strong, staunch opinions about the book. I like the opening quotes with Cal Scrata. That's pretty nice. I did want to mention though that, and Scott was right. This book did come out before the game, and I know I've been talking about Waylon Val a whole lot in this video so far, but Waylon Val, from what I remember, his first 10 chapters, none of his quotes are in the 10 chapters heading them. Waylon Val is exclusively, at least when he debuts, he's exclusive to the fucking. He's exclusive to like loading screens. He shows up in loading screens of Republic Commando, and I think he first shows up in 000, like in actual pros. So you'll see him soon. But I'd say he's about equally as important as Cal. Because Waylon, he's the one who trained Delta Squad. That's why it's important. He's the one who mentored and tutored Delta Squad.
I think there was a couple of members of even Omega that were trained by him too. I
Really?
think it was Niner and Atten. I think
I couldn't remember
because
there was one. Like, there was definitely one. Yeah. At least
because it mentions like I think maybe Niner. I think Niner was trained by Cal, and he's like, yeah, well, Cal taught me this, and one of the other, I think it was Atten. He says, well, I wasn't trained by Cal. I was trained by Waylon Val, so which I think was interesting. I don't know if you caught that, Tidus, but
I don't think I did.
Yeah, like because like he makes a reference. I think it's Niner. He makes a reference to like House Karate or like a quote or something, and adds like.
Oh no, I was talking about Waylon. Like I don't know if in the return by Waylon.
Well, there's a member of Omega Squad. I think it's Atten that was trained by Waylon Val. That's what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let me look that up real quick. Because now it's gonna bother me.
Because I know the Deltas, they were trained by Waylon.
Right. Let me see here.
There's like one minor thing that kind of threw me. It's the scene where like the Separatists, like the speeder, is like coming after the three of them, and like one of them takes the grenade launcher attachment and like shoots it. And it's described as like he gets his ass thrown back, and I was like, this is like a little weird.
Yeah, Atten was trained by, or Atten, I guess is how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Yeah.
He was trained by Waylon Val.
Damn. I did not remember that.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of a cool connection in the book. So
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
But aside from that, generally speaking, like I don't really have too many thoughts on it. Not these first 10 chapters some more. Maybe I'll have some more to say by the time we finish the book. But as of right now, not too much.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a pretty good book. I think we can all kind of agree it's pretty good. But I do agree with you, Tidus. Like I think the book would have been like fucking light years better if Attain wasn't even in it. Like if she wasn't even a character. Like if it was purely a Clone Commando story, it would have been just fantastic. I mean, and I hate to bring Disney canon up, but that's like what I don't like about the Bad Batch is I want episodes focused on the clones, not on Omega. You see what I'm saying? That's how I see Attain. She's like the Omega of fucking Omega Squad.
I'd say Attain's worse than Omega. But...
Oh, she's certainly worse. Well, I don't even know. I think they're actually probably on the same. They're both equally bad.
Maybe.
But because they take away from the stars, the actual clones that you want to read about. So, and then, I agree with you, Tidus, for sure. I don't think she's bad in this book, at least so far with what I read. I haven't really minded her. It's just like those early chapters I mentioned that are like where she's on her own and she's, I just thought that was boring because like, I don't want to read about her. I want to read about the clones,
I was the same way.
Or the Separatists.
So,
that's understandable if you liked her. I was just saying my problems with her is that too much of her character writing, it comes from her relationship with Dark. And I think like that is and Karen being a woman is kind of weird too. But that's like a writing rabbit hole when writing women where it's like your character revolves around a man. That is kind of like a bad thing in writing.
It
So
is.
that's why I bring up as as a point.
I was gonna like the whole thing about Karen like being like it's like you're gonna do that fucking like trope with like the woman character gets elevated by being around men, but when she's by herself, she's like
a joke ass.
She's a joke, and then like Karen Travis is a woman.
A caricature of Jedi, like when she's by herself, or just like kind of incompetent or whiny. And then it's like when she's in the circle of Darman, Karen projects herself onto that role of being a 10.
It's just uncanny female writers. I would expect a man to write.
Well, that's why I say it's projections. Like I don't think she cares. Like as long as she's like achieving like her fantasy of like interject myself in this moment of like being romanced and swooned by like a damn child soldier, or not child soldier, like a fucking bread warrior. I don't know.
She does that shit in fucking Legacy of the Force too. Oh, her Mandalorian fetish.
So to kind of like add to what you're saying, Titus, like there's a part in the book where, of course, I mean Darman's like, well, what do you order, sir? And of course, or ma'am, I guess. That's actually interesting because in TCW, all the damn clones call the female Jedi sir.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He calls her ma'am, which I thought was cool, actually. But Darman, of course, Tatane's like, I don't know anything about military shit. You're gonna have to teach, but she basically told him, you should train me. You should teach me how to be a leader. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. Which I mean, to be fair, like I don't expect Tatane to know military shit, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of like I was just kind of trying to compliment what you were saying, Titus. Like she becomes good because of Darman. She's going to become a competent character because of him.
Yeah, she doesn't have anything on her own, so like Darman has to build her up.
I fucking hate that so much.
It was a little bit of the trope, though, that a woman can't do anything without a man. Like needs direction from a man.
Yeah,
she was without her master, and she doesn't really quite know what she's doing on this planet. And then she encounters the clone, and that kind of sets her straight a little bit.
That fucking trope is so like stupid.
But yeah, I mean, I think as I said, I didn't really mind her, but I wasn't sitting there like hating her or whatever. But she certainly would have been. The book would have benefited if she wasn't in it. If like that whole storyline with her there, the book would have benefited. If it was solely about the clones and the Mandalorian separatists, it would have been a near perfect.
Yeah.
Beginning of
it would have been a lot better.
I think Karen Travis, and she likes to do this in her later books, is have a new unique take on the Jedi, because she kind of called some of the fans who thought she handled Jedi wrong, Jedi worshippers. So she maybe not so much in this book because it hadn't sort of developed yet, but later on she'll make a point to handle Jedi differently than they've been handled in the rest of the Star Wars expanded universe. And I think it only becomes a problem in later books, but it's kind of starts here. And I know Republic Commando, like this book series, has sort of a cult following. It's has its own fan base, right? I don't really have any strong feelings on it either way, but I think it kind of goes on too long, and I get tired of these characters after a while. This book in particular, I don't think is that bad, but like I think it should have stopped at book 2 or 3.
Well, you got 5 books.
Yeah.
Plus 6 if you count Bloodlines and Legacy of the Force. So, well, gentlemen, do you guys want to add anything else?
No, I think we've covered everything.
We could have a whole episode just on Karen Travis, but I think we've said everything about this book, at least the first 10 chapters that I can think of.
I think we can save like that episode, because I mean we're gonna do Imperial Commando. I mean that's on the timeline. I know it's after the Clone Wars, but since it is kind of the conclusion of, well, as close to the conclusion as we got to her Clone Wars stuff, we can talk about it there, and how bad Filoni treated her, but that's a whole different story.
And Del Rey treated her too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, this is part 1 of Republic Commando. Of course, part 2, we're gonna finish the book and then we'll come back. The second half, we kind of read a little over half. The second half is not as long, so we should get that finish pretty quickly here. And then after that, we're reading more comics and we're gonna keep going from there. So yeah. So thank you guys again. One last time, do you guys want to add anything, any final thoughts?
Nope.
No.
I'll save it for next episode.
All right, bet. All right. Thank you guys very much for watching. See y'all next time. May the force be with you.
Peace.
Peace.